Awesome. Great. Well, thank you, Cassie. I appreciate the introduction. I am also Cassie. Thank you all for tuning in today. We really appreciate your interest in learning more about Brenton Slough. I'm sure, there has been a lot in the news and the media. So we'll hopefully be able to provide you with a little more information today, about what this project entails. So first, of course, I'll talk a little bit about Polk County Conservation, and it seems like a lot of you who are attending already know who we are. But we're County Conservation Board, one of the 99. Our mission statement, is to provide the citizens of Polk County with quality outdoor recreation, conservation education, and then the long-term protection of Polk County's natural heritage. We began in 1956, like most of the other conservation boards, and we are governed by a board of 5 members, and they help our staff and our director make decisions and protect our natural areas. And natural area protection is my job. So I'm a conservation ecologist, and I deal with land management, planning, maintaining projects and budgets, grant writing for natural resource projects. That's my specialty and my role within the organization. We do provide a wide array of outdoor recreation opportunities and manage quite a bit of land in Polk County. So we have 24 different parks, wildlife areas, and recreational trails, anything from soft trails to multi-use trails, part of the Great Paved Trail System network in Iowa, especially in central Iowa. We service a lot of visitors every year. So Jester Park, if you've ever stopped out there for a program or camping, and Easter Lake Park are definitely our most visited parks, popular parks. We do offer a wide array of opportunities at all our parks, whether it's fishing, hunting, paddling, camping, hiking, just a little bit of everything. We've got a golf course, we've got a skate park, we've got Snowflex at Sleepy Hollow. So we've got a little bit of everything for everyone. We're just trying to serve the public as best as we can. And we're always looking for new opportunities, expanding into new areas and activities, and new acquisitions. So that brings up Brenton Slough, which is an exciting new project that we've been working on for the last couple years. And this is definitely what we're all about. We're protecting our natural resources, protecting our land, preserving it for the future and preserving it for people to enjoy, as well as the wildlife that rely on it so heavily. So today, to talk about Brenton Slough, we're going to talk about sort of how it sits today, what our current conditions are, what our road to acquisition was like. It definitely wasn't simple. Some of the things that we do know about it and some of the things that we're interested in learning about it. It's a large area. There's a lot going on. There's a lot we don't know. And then what does the future look like for this new area for us? What are our restoration plans going to be? What's our park use going to be? What do we see this area looking like into the future? So that's what I am going to cover today. And yeah, please, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them either through the presentation if, it's pertinent to a topic I'm talking about, or we can answer stuff at the end. So Brenton Slough, if you don't know where it is, it sits, actually straddles Polk and Dallas County. So here's our map here. All of our park areas that Polk County Conservation already manages are in green, and then Brenton Slough is highlighted in red. So very close to our Jester Park. It's close to Beaver Creek, and it's on the west side. It's a bit unusual that we are managing an area that lies in another county, but it's not unprecedented. We do also manage 2 small parcels in Jasper County, on the east side of the county, adjacent to Chautauqua Bottoms Greenbelt. So we definitely have worked with and talked with Dallas County staff, and it just made sense to keep this new area as a contiguous park under Polk County Conservation Management. It's a varied landscape out there. It's really neat. Of course, it has the slough, as it's named Brenton Slough, large water body. There's also timber, there's prairie, a section of Beaver Creek runs through it. There's lots of wetlands, which change, depending on how much rain we have, and some agricultural land. So it's pretty unique area for us. Here's a little bit better of a map where you can start to see the landscape. Um, so I'll talk about the acquisition story. So actually, in January 2025 of this year, Polk County Conservation took ownership of Phase 1 of Brenton Slough, and that consists of 735 acres, and those are all in Polk County. So everything that's highlighted in yellow here. So that includes the slough itself. If you can see my blue dot here, this is the slough proper. And then some sections of Beaver Creek up to the north. Lots of timber. There's lots of wetlands and oxbows in this timber. And then some crop ground and hay fields. So we're really excited to have the first portion of this under our ownership. Right now, it is fairly inaccessible to the public, which is why you haven't seen a grand opening or anything like that, though we do own a large chunk. The access is through private land, which we have, an agreement to utilize right now for staff needs, but we still don't have a great spot for the public to access. So we are currently undergoing a master planning effort to figure out where is the best place to have the public, park, access this park, get into, nature, get into these wild areas and really experience Brenton Slough. So this acquisition, like I said, wasn't a simple one, and it wouldn't have happened without a partnership with the Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation. They're a great partner to Polk County as they are to multiple county conservation boards across the state. But they really led the charge to get this area into public ownership and began having discussions with the Brenton family back in 2021. And to be honest, I think even earlier than that. And the Brenton family is large. They have at least 32 members, all, with a vested interest and, emotions about this area, a lot of family history here. But the nice thing was that pretty much every family member really wanted to see this area preserved into the future, not developed, kind of kept as is. And so an agreement was come to between INHF and the Brenton family in the winter of 2023, knowing that INHF was going to be, a mechanism to help Polk County Conservation be the ultimate owner of this land. So once INHF purchased the land from the Brenton family, they began a fundraising campaign. This whole area consists of 1,113 acres. So the price tag is not insignificant. So fundraising for this transfer to help us, Polk County Conservation, purchase this land from INHF, they began an $8 million campaign knowing that we were going to phase the purchase over 3 years, knowing there'd be some costs associated, not only the purchase of the land by INHF, but holding costs, interest of the loans that they took out, things like that. So they have been really instrumental in helping us raise money for this through private donations, through grant mechanisms. But we knew Polk County Conservation, this was such an important acquisition that we were definitely going to be contributing a fair share of our own money. So $3 million came from Polk County Conservation to help go to this purchase off the bat to get those 735 acres. And where our money comes from. So you all know that we passed our second bond in 2022. And this was basically our pie chart of what we advertised the bond of how we were going to allocate the money, what are important to the citizens and what they want to see. So $10 million of that bond was set aside for land acquisition. So we took $1 million from our land acquisition budget and we put it towards Brenton Slough. And Polk County Conservation received a portion of the American Rescue Plan Act, the ARPA funding that Polk County received. And we actually were able to receive $2 million of that funding to go straight to Brenton Slough. A lot of that money was sent to Polk County to do water quality projects and the things that would benefit Polk County, the watersheds surrounding us. And so this was a great project to use up some of that allocation. we also have a lot of other partners that have been instrumental in, getting us to the finish line of the fundraising. So, like I said, the ARPA money was huge. We've also worked with Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation to apply for North American Wetlands Conservation Act funding. We call it NACA for short. That's a program with the Fish and Wildlife Service that is for water quality projects as well. A good chunk of money is coming from them for some of our phases. The REAP grant, Resource Enhancement and Protection, land acquisition, we did receive some money from them as well. United States Forest Service Community Forest Program, we did receive some funding from them. Prairie Meadows has been a great partner. We received two different grants from them for different phases for acquisition. The Great Outdoors Foundation, which I'm sure you all have heard of, they are also excellent in the fundraising game, and they were able to facilitate a large donation from Google for our phase one acquisition, and that was so helpful. And it helps Google meet some of their water quality objectives that they have online now. And then private donations. So INHF, led that fundraising campaign, and they were successful in gaining a number of private donations to help us make this project happen. So we couldn't have done it by ourselves, and we are very grateful for everybody that have been involved in this project. So the land, it's over 1,000 acres. There's a lot to know. Of course, we've been able to chat with the Brenton family to try to figure out, how they've managed the land over time and help inform what we're going to do in the future. So, some of the things that we know about this property. This is a really neat photo. It's pretty close to Xavier Avenue in the Dallas County side, but there's just these sprawling wetlands. You can see, some timber in the background. There was an old bridge that went through. So it's just really very interesting landscape out there. So, Brenton Slough has been owned by the Brenton family for over 150 years. I mean, it's a legacy out there. They really used it for recreation. They hunted, they fished, they explored, they ice skated in the winter, they camped. They just did everything out there, and all the kids would just spend lots of time out there growing up. Really seeing wildlife and being good stewards of the land. They had some engineered land formations, like dams and water control structures to manage the land because they were avid waterfowl hunters. So we're, definitely learning from them, the patterns of water behavior out there, what their goals were while they owned and managed the land. And then they had about 900 acres of surrounding farmland, outside of this natural area. Some of that farmland is in our acquisition. Some of that farmland is still privately owned. The Brenton family still farming areas. They had a cattle operation. So that area is in flux. I'm not sure what the future will be for the privately owned acres, but we're figuring out our place in this area. So, oops, come on. All right, so here's just a few more photos of the landscape. It's just very, fun to be out there. There's lots of water when we're not in a drought. You can see from the top photo, there's a lot of old oxbow wetlands, riparian, timber, lots of wildlife, turtles galore. I know the Brenton family has told stories about, frogs, choruses in the spring being extremely loud, lots of migrating birds, lots of waterfowl, sandhill cranes. So it's just an abundance of wildlife out there, which just shows us why it needs to be protected. So the ecology of the area, as we've looked into this, of course, we're still in the area of the Wisconsin Glacier. The slough, the geology was affected by the glacier, and that slough is when it's bank full, it takes up about 52 acres of area, so it's quite significant. It's a good source of water. It's a good source of water for migrating waterfowl and amphibians and reptiles and all that. Like I said before, there's lots of other sprawling wetland areas, floodplain forests, and a lot of this water is stagnant, unless we're in a wet season, and it will flow on a seasonal basis. And then, kind of like I mentioned before, the Brentons had a lot of anecdotal observations of unique plant and animal life. And then also, there is a section of Beaver Creek that runs through the northern portion of Brenton Slough, and provides additional habitat. So a lot of our staff have been out on site, our natural resources staff, and trying to understand the landscape. And we realized that this was a great opportunity before we open this park up to the public to really learn about what is there, to help drive our management decisions, to help drive, our park infrastructure decisions, and how, we'd like people to utilize the site. And so we realized we wanted to learn more about the ecology, about wildlife, about plants that are out there. And so our Natural Resources Department commissioned some environmental studies to really tell us what's out there. So we have a floristic inventory currently ongoing, a 3-year study to look at the plant community across all of the natural areas in Brenton Slough. So it's a large undertaking. It's led by Dr. Tom Rosberg of Drake University. Lauren Lown, who is on this call, is also a big part of that. And so they're basically telling us everything that they can find out there, highlighting, some rare species, some rare plant communities, letting us know where there's invasive species that we need to take care of, but really figuring out what we have that can influence our management. We also have commissioned studies on wildlife. So Keith Somerville of Drake University has been doing a moth and butterfly study to tell us, what sort of insects and or pollinator species are utilizing the areas at Brenton Slough. Muir Eaton from Drake University also is doing bird studies, so bird migration and breeding, what birds are utilizing this area, what ones are breeding. So that will help us inform how we might manage our woodlands. And then myself, I have been looking into our Blandings turtle population. So the Brenton family has told us that they have seen Blandings turtles at the slough before. And Blandings are rare for the state of Iowa. So they're a state threatened species. They exist in, isolated populations, but their populations are declining, but this has been a great stronghold of habitat for them. So I've been out there trying to kind of get an idea of how big our population is, and are we having, breeding and reproduction. And so far, I've definitely found them. So they're there. They're using a multitude of habitats, which is great. It's been a little difficult when we haven't had a lot of water lately, but they've been able to persist even through the drought. So we hope to have more information about our Blandings turtle population in the future. We're also, of course, looking at water quality and water quantity. So Dr. Claire Ruby from Drake University, as a part of our Google funding support for this project, is doing a 10-year study of the watershed. So she'll be doing monitoring of water quality, parameters of the flows, and how basically the system works. Flooding patterns. So when we have high water years, how does the water move on the landscape? And two, that's really important to know, especially as development will occur along our boundaries. We do have some private homes on the eastern edge of Brenton Slough already, and we, really perceive that we'll see more and more development come up to our boundaries in the near future. So knowing how the water moves, knowing how we can be good neighbors is really important. And then there's always opportunities for future research. So archaeological information, the Brenton family has mentioned that, they've looked into it a little bit, and there's definitely some activity of Native peoples in this area we'd love to know more about, so that once we begin doing any sort of development or restoration, we know that we're not, negatively impacting any sensitive sites. we're always interested in if we have threatened or endangered species. So bat population surveys would be really important, so that if we know if we have any of our endangered bats out there, the northern long-eared or the Indiana bat, that we would manage our timbers in a way that would help their populations. And then other surveys, amphibian reptiles, fish, just anything out there we're really looking to know more about. So those will be in years to come. So, I said we were looking to purchase Brenton Slough over a 3-year phase. So, this January, we purchased our first phase. We hope to purchase our second phase actually at the end of this year, and then phase three sometime early next year. So, what happens when Polk County Conservation owns all of Brenton Slough? That's what we are as staff discussing right now. We know this is a photo of a guided birding hike. We know Brenton Slough has always been popular with the birding community, as this great resource for migrating birds. So how can we get people, into this area to really, enjoy what Brenton Slough has to offer? So first we have to purchase, like I said, our remaining 378 acres. And then we have to figure out how we're going to get people on site. So the nice thing about phase two and three, we do have a better public access road that we can, build some parking lots off of to get people out and into the area. We have decided ever since we started going down this road that this park was not going to be like Jester Park. It's not going to be, playgrounds or concrete or anything like that. It's really going to remain natural and have a light footprint. We want people to come in and experience Brenton Slough, but we don't want to love it to death. And we want to make sure that, nature for nature is what we commonly say. So some mowed hiking paths will kind of be our footprint here. Get people an easy way to get out into the natural areas, but we're not, putting down a lot of gravel. We're not putting down cement. We do hope, as one of our kind of highlighted items, is to put a bird watching observation tower, so that it can get visitors a little bit elevated, one, kind of see the landscape of the slough a little better from a height, and then two, be able to view, migrating or visiting birds a little bit better. So we're working with the Iowa Ornithological Union. They provided some grant funds to help make this a reality, and we're currently going through planning right now for the observation tower. We're also hoping to connect Brenton Slough through a regional trail that is currently in the works, to try to connect Jester Park to Grimes. So if people wanted to bike here, we would really encourage that. We're trying to figure out the best layout for how that trail can, come along Brenton Slough, and how we can connect it to the surrounding communities. But that would be a very exciting way of getting additional visitors into this park. So here's a really early concept of what our park planner had developed, as far as where we could have people, accessing and enjoying the slough. So, like I said, here's Xavier Avenue. And Y Avenue. These are our public access roads. So having parking areas coming off of these would be the easiest. And then having our hiking trails. There's lots of areas to explore. Of course, we can't really put hiking trails through the wetlands very well. We are talking about some opportunities for boardwalks or bridges. Of course, those can get pricey, so we just have to figure out, what we have the budget for. But we'd really love to get a trail for people to, traverse around the slough, get up into the wetlands, or the timber around the wetlands, and really have the opportunity to view some of the unique wildlife. So these are not final prints at all. And then here is a possible route, or two different possible routes for that regional trail, that could come in, kind of south to north and get people through and near some of our hiking trails, and that could be really neat. So this is just our first go at it, and we still have a lot of planning to do. But yeah, there's definitely lots of opportunities for some longer trails, some loop trails, so that everybody can sort of choose their own adventure in this park. In addition to the park planning and the park infrastructure, of course, there's lots of opportunity for land management. And so that's where myself, my colleagues in the Natural Resources Department will be focusing on creating a land management plan for Brenton Slough. So we have all of our research studies that are ongoing, and we have our staff who are, continuing to make site visits to this property to figure out, what are the needs, the immediate needs of things like invasive species that we need to control before, they get out of hand. And what are our other restoration needs? So, I mentioned there's farm ground, there's brome hayfields, and those, we would convert those to prairies, or even, oak savannas. So retire the farm ground and plant native prairie, remove the brome as best as we can and plant prairie and really create, more diverse and complex habitats for the wildlife out there. There is a lot of woodlands out there, and there's a lot of tree plantings of species that, provide some benefit, but a lot of evergreens that are not native to Iowa, some ornamental trees that have been planted out there by the family, or to be honest, some invasive trees that have just come in. And so a lot of opportunities for removing non-native and invasive trees and really facilitating regeneration of our native species like oaks, walnuts, hickories, things that provide great benefit to wildlife, to insects. Um, and yeah, basically translate our research findings into action. So if we find that we have some sensitive species with really particular habitat needs, that can influence some of our decisions. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of work to be done out here. It's a gem of a place to begin with, but we know we can improve it. Just our natural areas, invasive species is always a problem. We try hard, and it's just a constant thing we have to deal with. So we're ready to get in there and give it some TLC, and just really make this habitat as best as we can. There's actually also in some of the, I didn't write it up here. Oh, no, I did. Restore additional wetlands. So another really important item for water quality, and some of the crop grounds, we are looking at aerial imagery and soil types, and we have a lot of opportunities to create some additional wetlands out at Brenton Slough, to provide additional habitat, to provide additional water quality and quantity benefits, manage stormwater and all that kind of thing. So we will definitely work. We have great partners at Polk County Public Works who are experts at doing wetland restorations. So I'm sure we'll be working together to take a look at Brenton Slough and see what opportunities we have out there for some additional wetlands. So that's what I have for most of my presentation. I do have one other video that kind of gives you a better look into Brenton Slough. It's hard. We're very excited for people to come out. We're just not ready yet, so I wanted to show this video. It's a great one that INHF put together for their fundraising campaign, but it does do a nice job of going over a little bit of the background, and kind of showing some of the unique landscape that's out there. It's only 4 minutes, but I thought it would be really nice for everybody to see just a little bit, more into what this area looks like. And let's see, pause that. All right.
Brenton Slough sits between Polk and Dallas counties with 1,100 acres of wetlands, woodlands, and oak savanna. The gravel road running through Brenton Slough is a mecca for birders, naturalists, and nature photographers. In an area undergoing rapid change and growth, conservation of properties with existing quality wildlife habitat, especially such a large parcel as Brenton Slough, is a rare opportunity. After owning and stewarding this land for more than a century, 32 members of the Brenton family have been contemplating for years what the best future of the slough would be. They decided to find partners who would permanently protect the land, maintain the crucial wildlife habitat, and open the property to the public.
I grew up here. I was out here since I was a baby. My dad, the same thing. The family's had it since the 1880s. And it's just been a place where we've come and picnicked and hiked and uh, camped and sledded and ice skated through the woods. And it's been a fantastic place for us. We could see that as time went forward, so many of our kids, so many of the families live spread out all across the United States, and we wanted to protect it and save it as it is. There's a lot of unique things out here, from birds and reptiles and amphibians, and it just has such a special place in the hearts of all of us.
After several years of close collaboration with the Brenton family and Polk County Conservation, Iowa Natural Heritage Foundation has purchased the Brenton Slough and will hold it while funds are raised to transfer to public ownership. This is an incredible opportunity to protect open space with benefits for wildlife habitat, water quality, and outdoor recreation in a rapidly changing landscape.
The fact that this is still here in Polk and Dallas County, and that the Brentons had stewarded it for so many years, and now it's going to enter a new phase of public ownership and public use, and that is what the family wants. I think people are going to really be grateful that we took the opportunity to protect this while we had the chance.
This is very close to Grimes on the south, Granger on the north, Johnston on the east, and all of those communities are growing. So one of the mantras we've had is if you don't do it now, it's not going to get done. We're doing it right now and providing green space for all of these communities to be able to enjoy for the future. We are looking at a light footprint here, so nature first. But we're looking at things like passive recreation, so hiking trails, recreational trail. Along the north side of this is Beaver Creek. It might be part of a water trail.
We know there are charismatic species here like river otters, sandhill cranes, bobcats, Blanding's turtles. So again, I think that speaks to just the quality of the land and the quality of stewardship that the Brenton family has done here. Having wetlands intact like we have here, high acreage is incredibly important for water quality. Wetlands are some of the most efficient and best water cleaning agents that we have. There's also oak savanna here, which is a globally imperiled ecosystem. There probably are still some hidden gems in here that nobody knows about.
I think when an opportunity like Brenton Slough comes along, we have to take advantage of that. We have to take that opportunity. We're going to need a lot of people's help. It's something that can only happen when all groups come together.
Some existing funding and lead donations from Ken Brenton and family mean we're almost halfway to our fundraising goal of $8 million. The sooner we reach our goal, the sooner Brenton Slough is open to the public, to you. We hope you look forward to experiencing and enjoying this gem in central Iowa.
It's going to take everyone's efforts, but it's going to have great rewards.
Great. So yeah, that's it. Again, it's stunning out there, especially when there's water. We're really excited to be able to open this area to the public. And I am happy to take any questions that may have come up.
Thanks, Cassie. If anyone has questions, go ahead and type them in the chat and we'll be happy to read them for Cassie. In the meantime, Cassie, if you need any extra help with the Blanding's Turtle Survey, you know who to call.
Of course. Yep. Fellow turtle enthusiast.
All right, any questions? Well, you must have done a really good job because there's no questions.
Or it's just been in the news enough. Everybody knows what's going on.
Yep. We do have one. Is this Walnut Creek watershed?
No, this is the Beaver Creek watershed, actually. So yeah, we are right adjacent to our north end to Beaver Creek and actually have a small section. It's about 3/4 of a mile of Beaver Creek that goes through our property that we will be able to directly manage.
All right. Well, Thanks again, Cassie, and thanks everyone for tuning in. And stay tuned for an email for the next Lunch and Learn. And like I mentioned before, this will be available on the Rain Campaign YouTube page. And let me know if you can't find that link, and I'll send it to you. Have a good day.